name is Lesley Paterson and I'm Head of Public Engagement at the Royal Academy of Engineering. I've been involved in a radio play called The Projectionist that was funded by our grant scheme Ingenious, which tries to encourage public engagement organisations to take on engineering issues as part of their programming, and also Breathing Country. They're both based around privacy, surveillance, civil liberties, and what engineering and IT has changed for people and for society. And they both were targeted at young people, and quite often young people have been missed out in these debates. So with Breathing Country, NHS Connecting for Health has done lots of public consultation with adults on how they feel about electronic patient records, but hasn't engaged anyone younger than 18. And also with the Projectionist, there's the likes of me and all other adults that had the internet when they were adults. I think it's so different for young people that have literally, you know, they're IT natives, they're internet natives, and they've grown up with Facebook and probably haven't been exposed to the pros and the cons of internet and privacy, and not really had thought through what the risks might be as well as the benefits. So that's why the Projectionist was so important. The great thing about White-Touring is it knows what its strengths are, which is the artistic and creative and play development side, but it's very much always a collaborative approach with an expert advisory group, with people from different perspectives. The main issues were Facebook, young people, and their privacy. We have this kind of image that all young people adore Facebook, stick anything on it, share everything, but that's not actually true. There are some young people that don't necessarily engage with Facebook as much as what we think they do, because they do have some privacy concerns. They don't like everything out there. But it was really about raising awareness of, yes, the internet is wonderful for communicating, for sharing, for chatting, but be aware that the internet never forgets, as Martin Thomas will say. With the production Breathing Country, that was about electronic patient records and their potential use for health and medical research. At the moment, there's individual hospitals and doctor surgeries will have electronic patient records. So one patient might have multiple records all over the place. So the idea is we'll bring it into not a centralized database, but a linked database. So one person will have one summary care records, what they're called, that can be accessed by hospitals and GP surgeries when required. And there'll also potentially be a detailed record which will have a lot more information. Now, the first idea for electronic patient records was that these could be used, one, to increase efficiency in the health service, and two, to benefit the patient. But and also administration and booking and all that kind of thing, measuring metrics. But it's actually an incredibly powerful data set that could be useful for other uses. And the question is, which ones are people happy for that data to be used? And there's an idea that it could be used by medical researchers, and not the typical way that we think of a medical researcher with a lab coat and actually using tissue samples or doing clinical trials, but literally using the information, the data set of people around the UK to either make links. For example, I know Dole did this many years ago, with epidemiology, for example, to get the link between smoking and cancer, or they could look at maybe where mobile phone masts are and also in drug trials to be able to follow people afterwards and find out for side effects, and a whole other wealth of uses. But it's really important that this is people's personal health information. And who does it belong to? Does it belong to government and state? What do people think about medical researchers being able to have access to it? The most interesting thing with this project was the fact that the NHS had predominantly consulted adults on what they thought about their personal health information being accessed by medical researchers. But it was so, I think there was this idea that because young people are our digital natives, that they've grown up with Facebook and Big Brother and they just don't care about privacy. And one, we knew we had a really good feeling that this wasn't true. And two, yes, initially it sounds a very dry subject, electronic patient records. How are we going to engage teenagers with this subject? And to get it through an engaging emotional drama was a brilliant way to do it. And it took such a short period of time to get them really engaged in what it might mean for them, how they feel about it, and especially asking young people, because they understood that I might be fine now at 17, but I know there's lots of changes that I'll go through, or things might happen to me if I had an STI or a pregnancy test, or would I still be happy for researchers to be able to see my data, and whether consent would be required, at what age were they allowed to make decisions for themselves rather than their parents, would their parents have access to their patient record, would some young people be forced to show their electronic patient record to their parents? And so there's an awful lot of issues that were young people specific, and that the play definitely was able to engage them with that and engage them in a debate. Empathy.